talking about something that is, no exaggeration, a geopolitical earthquake. It's the story of how Egyptian intelligence did something that pretty much everyone thought was impossible. They opened a direct line to one of the most secret, most powerful organizations in the world. And just to give you a sense of how big a deal this is, look at this. This is a statement from Pakistani intelligence. Now, these guys are one of the most powerful intelligence agencies in the region, and they basically threw their hands up and said, "We can't get through. The leaders have gone underground." And that's the big question, right? That's what we're digging into today. While the world's superpowers were hitting a total brick wall, what exactly did Egypt do differently? How in the world did they manage to open a channel straight to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? To really appreciate what Egypt pulled off, you first have to understand who the IRGC are. Because, and this is crucial, they are not just another army, not even close. Understanding this was the first piece of the puzzle that Egypt solved. This right here is the absolute heart of it. Their number one mission isn't to protect the nation in the way you'd think. It's to protect the ideology of the revolution. They were actually created to be a check on the regular Iranian army, because the new revolutionary leaders were paranoid that the old army was still loyal to the old government. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. You basically got a parallel state. On one hand, the regular army, loyal to the nation of Iran. On the other hand, you have this incredibly powerful ideological force, the IRGC, and their loyalty is to one person, the supreme leader. And they don't fight like a normal army. They're an asymmetric force. That means they use proxy groups, secret operations, and economic warfare to get what they want. So that ideology is everything. And to really understand the IRGC's DNA, you have to go back. You have to uncover this kind of secret history, a really deep connection that Egyptian intelligence knew was the key to finding a way in. Now, this timeline, this is so much more than just a history lesson. You should think of it like an intelligence file. It literally traces the IRGC's roots all the way back to a group called Fadayan-e-Islam. And what was that? Well, it was basically a Shiite offshoot of the Sunni Muslim Brotherhood. The very first leaders of the IRGC, they came from this exact ideological wellspring. And here's the absolute stunner. Get this. Back in 1949, a top Iranian Shiite cleric was a serious contender to lead the entire global Sunni Muslim Brotherhood. Just let that sink in for a second. That one fact completely flips our modern ideas about the Sunni-Shia political divide on their head. It points to this shared language, this shared history that most of the world has forgotten, but a very smart intelligence agency can definitely use. Okay, so that shared ideology, that was the fuel that allowed the IRGC to skyrocket after the revolution. Over the next few decades, this group didn't just get bigger, it morphed into this massive, sprawling military and economic empire, with its tentacles reaching all over the globe. And this right here is why this is all so important. A lot of experts will tell you that since around 2009, the IRGC has basically become the real government of Iran. The president, the parliament, a lot of that is just for show. So when Egypt opened a line to the IRGC, they weren't just talking to some military commanders. No, they were talking to the guys who are really running the country. And you can see that military octopus right here. Their power spreads across the whole region through this huge network of proxy groups. And these aren't just friends, they're literally the armed extensions of the IRGC's will. From Lebanon to Yemen, Gaza to Iraq, it's this incredibly complex web that gives them their strength. But it's not just about military muscle. They have this massive economic empire too. We're talking about a shadow corporation that runs on all sorts of illegal stuff. Oil smuggling, the hugely destabilizing Captagon drug trade, and it's all propped up by a very sophisticated global money laundering network. And this might be their most brilliant move for long-term survival. They completely flip the power structure upside down. You see, normally the military would serve the religious leaders, but the IRGC infiltrated the seminaries to create a new generation of clerics whose first loyalty isn't to God, it's to the guard. The military now controls the religion, which guarantees their ideology will survive for generations. So now that we have all this context, their history, their structure, their money, now we can finally start to see Egypt's playbook take shape. It wasn't about using brute force. It was about using deep insight. You see, Egypt learned a really hard lesson decades ago when they got involved in Yemen. They knew a direct fight was a losing game. The old way of war was about blowing things up. This new kind of conflict is about managing chaos. Your best weapon isn't a missile, it's intelligence. And you're not trying to win a battle, you're trying to achieve strategic de-escalation.
And the timing of this, well, the timing was perfect. Egypt didn't make its move when the IRGC was at its strongest. No, they waited. They were patient. And they acted at the exact moment this giant was starting to show some real weakness.
And you can see those cracks everywhere if you know where to look. The IRGC has had a string of major failures lately. In Syria, they got pushed back by rival groups. They couldn't save their allies in Sudan. The influence of their proxies in places like Gaza and Lebanon is fading. That whole image of being invincible, yeah, it's starting to crumble.
So, where does this all leave us? You have this incredible intelligence breakthrough, built on deep historical knowledge, targeting a vulnerable but still very powerful ideological empire. What does this tell us about the future of the Middle East?
What Egypt did really makes you wonder, doesn't it? It leaves us with this huge question about what power even means today. Maybe we're moving into a new era where the most important battles aren't fought with tanks and jets, but with intelligence and secret back channels. An era where really truly understanding your opponent is the most powerful weapon you can have.